DreamHack Open is brought to you by Intel, Corsair, MSI, and Monster Energy.
It's been a day of rivalry so far here at DreamHack Open Fall, and our second match of Group A is no exception. Fnatic are returning with a vengeance to take on the mighty OG in our next best of three. A huge matchup to be getting underway, and of course, I've got to introduce our panel of experts joining me to break down this one. It's of course Maui and Potter joining me up here on the desk. Maui, pleasure to have you joining us here at DreamHack Open Fall. Are you excited to be getting into some CS?
Oh yeah, absolutely. This is a matchup that I was really looking forward to. The last time these two teams played, it was excellent Counter-Strike. I'm expecting nothing less today as well.
Yeah, this is going to be an absolute rivalry for the ages, and possibly we've already seen Vitality starting off in really dominant form here at DreamHack Open Fall. So I feel like Group A, they've got a lot to live up to here.
They do. They've got a lot to live up to. And, you know, we talked about the fact that these teams and players coming into this event shouldn't be thinking about warming up, shouldn't be thinking about performing at 150%. We already expect them to, right? Because of that long EPL season. So it is kind of shocking to see Mousesports losing by such a huge margin. I think those kinds of score lines in this late in 2020, it's just not that normal, right? But that just speaks volumes of how prepared and how sharp Vitality are looking right now.
Yeah, it really is. And of course, we can take a look at our 16 teams split up into 4 groups here. Of course, we're yet to start the Group B action, but on Group C and Group D, we've already seen some games going down there. Obviously, Godsent taking the win over Saw, and then actually, surprisingly, possibly we were saying Sprout managing to take the win over NIP. You know, Naught coming back into the roster. Maybe we were expecting a little bit more from NIP.
Yeah, exactly. Huge surprises so far in all of these opening matches, and even Godsent. I mean, it's good to see them bouncing back, because if you look at their match history just yesterday in a Flashpoint qualifier, Godsent actually lost to Saw. And in thinking about especially that Vertigo, which was their opening match in that series, Godsent turned it around. They were able to get a clean, somewhat clean 2-0 victory over Saw. So a good look for Godsent in their opening matchup in DreamHack Open.
Yeah, impressive stuff indeed. But I think we should shift our attention to Group A, as that is where we are going to be focusing in on. Of course, we've already started off the proceedings with Vitality managing to get the win over Mousesports. But Maui, we were saying it earlier on in the day, this is looking like the group of death, because all 4 of these teams, you know, should be in contention to go through to the playoffs. Unfortunately, we're going to have to bid farewell to one.
Yeah, this is a group where it just kind of feels like there's so many win conditions for a lot of these teams, but they all kind of feel like a team that will come in second place in this group. Like, we've seen Fnatic fall before. We've seen OG kind of just come up just a little bit short against top teams like FaZe. Vitality, I'm glad what we saw today was impressive, because, and Shox was really popping off, because it feels like they are carving out a win condition for themselves because of that kind of performance. But Mousesports, I mean, with BMAS trying to fit in on the roster still, there's still some question marks there on top of this. But every team here is like really good. But you're just kind of questioning, like, who's actually going to come out on top? And yeah, it's kind of a group of death, because the quality of teams is so high, but there's really no clear favorite here.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one indeed. And I don't want to throw you under the bus here, Maui, but you made a pretty bold prediction about how this group is going to be ending. Of course, coming into our next game, OG versus Fnatic. You were saying a little something about Fnatic and how you've seen them performing recently.
Yeah, so Fnatic versus OG. I think that Fnatic showed everything that they really needed to in order to beat OG. And actually, I think they're going to topple this group. I thought that before this tournament even started. That being said, it's going to be tough for them. OG are looking really well prepared. OG are just a team that's constantly anti-stratting. And I think Alexi B, he's given BlameF a little bit of a run for his money for the most, just like the hardest working IGL in the scene right now. You can tell that Alexi B in all of their performances has like brought something to the table where he knows to rotate a few seconds before another player would. He knows where to nade at that perfect timing in order to nail somebody on the opposing team. He's really doing his homework right now.
Yeah, and of course, before we jump into the map vetoes for this next best of 3 series, I think it's time that we take a look at a couple of the team's map performances over the past few months. And maybe, Potter, we can begin to speculate exactly what we're going to be seeing in terms of some of the maps picked out here.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you see it right there. Inferno, 80% win rate for Fnatic. I'm pretty sure that they're probably going to lean onto that map once again here. It just seems like the individuals on the Fnatic side, it's just a comfort pick for them, a comfort map. They all seem to be making the right decisions at the right times. And Flusha, when I think about Inferno and Fnatic, I'm always thinking about Flusha because this man, he doesn't even need to aim on this map because his brain allows him to consistently set himself up in positional advantages. He's just always able to spray and pray all 30 bullets, dodging bullets left and right. It's beautiful Counter-Strike to watch coming out of Fnatic. Brolan, such a stud, such an anchor over towards that pit. I mean, it just seems like Inferno should be a clear favorite here for Fnatic.
Yeah, it's absolutely beautiful stuff to watch. And of course, the last time these two teams played, a mere 5 days ago, Fnatic were able to take the win over on Inferno. But let's take a look at OG's map performances as well and see exactly where they are stacking up in comparison to Fnatic. It was actually a while since these two teams last played until the IEM New York semi-final. But what are you making of these statistics, Maui?
Yeah, I think the overpass win rate it's a little deceiving, of course, because we can see right to the left that it's only 2 total matches. But Inferno, I mean, I think this is probably where one of these teams is going to want to head today. Inferno is just like it's a comfort pick for OG. It's a comfort pick for Fnatic as well. So really, it's almost like whoever picks first is kind of, they're going to be playing a little bit of a game of chicken here as to who's going to actually pull the trigger on Inferno, because both these teams want to play it, but it's really, you can maybe come out ahead in the veto if you decide to float it there. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out.
I also find that, sorry, Freya, I also find that 100% win rate on Overpass very interesting because Overpass is a map that Fnatic sometimes have to veto. It's a map that they don't touch very often, but because there's 3 maps, there's that Dust 2, Nuke, and Overpass that Fnatic don't really like to mess with. This potentially is an opening for OG to be able to kind of win out on the veto front. I'm not sure if OG feel that that's going to be necessary to play those kinds of mind games coming through in this veto, but it's certainly an opportunity.
Yeah, we can begin to see how this map veto is going to be playing out. Obviously, last time we saw these two teams face, it was Train, then Inferno, then Mirage. Went to the full 3 maps. So Maui, do you want to walk us through your expectations coming into this?
Ooh, so I like Potter's point that I don't exactly know where Fnatic is going to be going with the veto. Last time around, I think they had to ban out Dust 2 against OG. This time, they might change it because this is just such a mind game between these teams for me that I feel like they're both like Golden and Alexi B, or they're just combating each other right now telepathically as to who is going to actually have to end up banning what here. But I'm really just curious to see, in all honesty.
Well, let's see how it plays out. We can begin rather to get our first ban maps up. Vertigo is going to be
Vertigo
outside of Fnatic, and then Dust 2 by OG. A bit of an interesting one. There might have been a little bit of a switch again because that's what we saw happening in the last best of 3. But what are your thoughts from this one, Christine?
I think this Vertigo is very interesting, and the Mirage pick coming out for Fnatic is also interesting because I wrote in my notes, I think OG's best map is Mirage. Alexi B as that in-game leader, it seems to be his comfort playground. He's able to call so well on that map. So actually, this Mirage coming out for the first map in this series, I think it's great for both squads. And that Inferno moving on to the 3rd map here, this is interesting. I especially find this Vertigo veto coming up from Fnatic very interesting. I think maybe they saw OG's past scrim record, scrim history, and they were afraid of OG coming out with a pocket pick because OG have 0 maps played on this map as well. So
Yeah, I know what you're saying there, Potter. I've heard from a word from production that actually it did end up being flipped. I love that you tried to give a justification to it, though. Like, the mind games of Potter, they are working.
Yeah, I thought they were just probably looking at Alexi B's on Steam Friends and just seeing like, in Vertigo game, what is he doing in there right now? Like,
what?
Is he planning something? Offline server Vertigo. Okay.
But it is interesting as well, you know, just looking at the Series A face each other in again just 5 days ago. I am New York, same maps, but they're coming out in a little bit of a different order here, Maui. So Mirage coming up first might be an interesting one to be starting off the series with.
Yeah, this is actually just the mirror match. Last time around, it was Mirage closing the series out, and OG was able to come out on top. Fnatic really had a hard time in that game finding opening picks. In particular, I'm going to have to single him out, JW, who was having so much difficulty on that T side towards the B apartments, getting caught off guard by rifle pushes, op pushes, trying to sometimes make something happen, then just getting caught off guard. It was not looking good for him there. So if he just kind of scales back a little bit, doesn't necessarily have to overextend this time, let the action come to him a little bit, or maybe let the mid players, A players do a little bit more of the opening kills, that may help him out in this game here. So I'm gonna just need that adjustment to come out, because other than that, I actually thought Fnatic's Mirage looked good the last time they played, despite the 16-9 scoreline.
Yeah, and of course we want to hear what you guys are saying down in that Twitch chat. We'll be checking in with the results before we head into this game, but make sure you put in those hashtags down there. FNTC if you want to be voting for the Fnatic boys, or OG if you're going with OG. A very simple hashtag there to be starting things off. So it's very easy to vote. Make sure you're getting your votes into Twitch chat. Now, Maui, you were mentioning about JW here for the Fnatic side, and I think it's about time we hear from the man himself. It's JW with Frankie.
I'm very happy to have JW joining me, and also very happy to see that JW, you appear to be at a boot camp with Fnatic. What's going on right now?
Yeah, we're starting off slow with some practice, some media. Yeah, hopefully we're gonna rock this tournament during the boot camp.
And do you feel like you're a stronger team playing online when you are in the same space together?
Yeah, definitely. We are a team that really helps each other thrive, I think, and it really helps during the LAN tournaments and stuff like that. So we noticed way back that we kind of need to be on the same spot together to actually perform at our best. So that is why we try to do a boot camp during this tournament, because for us it's really important.
And the first match you've got is against OG. It's literally a rematch of the IEM New York semi-final where OG did put you out of the running. So what do you think held you back in that last matchup?
To be honest, we have had some problems overall adjusting to the online season. When it comes to playing to our strengths, it's usually on LAN we play like on our experience, and you can't really do that online. So online we tend to get a bit more frustrated. Which I think in a long best of 3 like versus OG, it's hard to stay mentally in shape for that long. So I think we kind of lost it mentally in that final half in the final map.
But it was your strongest placing since winning ESL Pro League back in April. So I've got high hopes for you boys at DreamHack Open Full, because also you're in a boot camp. And I've got no more time for questions, sadly, JW. So all I can say is good luck.
Thank you.
As always, fantastic interview there from Frankie, and actually answering a lot of questions that I had coming into this one, Potter. We were talking about it, you know, Fnatic having a bit of a dip in form towards the middle of the year, but the fact that they're on a boot camp, you were noticing a very interesting trajectory about Fnatic's results and in terms of their turnaround, weren't you?
Yeah, exactly. And you know, hopefully for Fnatic's sake, it is a pattern, because as you mentioned, Freya, that dip in the middle of the 2020 season, if you just look back a little bit further earlier on, especially towards the latter end of 2019 and the beginning of 2020, these guys were making semifinal after semifinal, grand final after grand final, first place at ECS, first place at European Minors. I mean, Fnatic, you just look at the individuals on the squad and you can automatically just see that they're gonna be successful. So if this pattern comes through, man, they just made it to the semifinals at IEM New York last week. So this event itself, I mean, they're just all of a sudden gonna have that sort of momentum, that LAN momentum that Fnatic kind of lean towards. Hopefully they're able to kind of transition that towards this online and just roll with it, just go with the flow.
Yeah, let's delve into that IEM New York semi-final a little bit more, Maui. Obviously, it's a pretty incredible feat that Fnatic made it there after some weaker performances. But coming up against OG, were there any kind of notable issues you saw them facing in that semi-final? Of course, it was an incredibly close one, but is there anything that you want to be looking at today and seeing Fnatic improve to hopefully take OG down?
Yeah, I think one thing is actually kind of what JW talked about, the LAN factor or the online factor. OG on Train, which was Fnatic's map pick in that series, actually, OG clutched 3 times pretty late in that game. There was a 3v1 actually, there was a 2v1, a 1v1, and those kind of things, I think JW, that's when he says that it was an online kind of thing, that they probably wouldn't lose those kinds of clutches if it were LAN. But now that they're all in the same room, now that they're all together, the communication should be sharper, they should be more in sync with one another, they can look at each other, if something goes wrong, they can read each other's emotions, they can know how each other's playing and how everybody in that room is feeling, and I think all of that will go to help them a lot. I think that this is a team that will thrive in these kinds of conditions.
Well, they'll be familiar with their opponents quite a fair bit. It's OG, and Frankie had the chance to chat with MBK ahead of this match.
MBK, thank you for joining me, and congratulations on making your first big event final with OG at Intel Extreme Masters New York.
Right.
What did you learn in that final against FaZe?
Several things, but the fact that we need to control ourselves still better in order to perform 100%, because yeah, we played good up until the final, but it stopped there.
And I know OG often gets asked, why is that? So instead, I want to ask what you're doing to combat those nerves, because Alexi B has spoken about that being an issue.
Yeah, I think the general idea is just we're gonna keep going in like light and easy mindset, in the sense that just coming into the game, just doing the same bullshit that we've been doing every time we've been entering a game, really, and not consider it like a big thing that is happening, and keep on making jokes, keep on just not caring and caring at the same time in the game. So just having that right balance, right, of doing things properly and having a good atmosphere.
I want to ask finally about Inferno. It's a map that you almost insta-pick every time, but Fnatic, they really tested you on it last time you faced them. You're about to face them, and of course it had some issues against FaZe. So what's the one thing you need to do better on that map going into this matchup if we see it?
I mean we've been very good on that map for quite some time now, and it's really a matter of us adapting to the teams adapting to us. So just getting a step further into our approach, and you know, there was a lot of messy things that we did within the game, and so we changed just our approach on some parts of the map, and how we wanted to just get game plan going into the game. And that's really going to be the main thing for Inferno specifically, because yeah, we've been playing very good on that map for a long time, and it's a matter of realizing that and then just adapting and creating new things on the map to be better on it, because we have all the bases. It's just a matter of having the right game plan again coming into games.
Well, good luck with the game plan today. Thank you so much for talking to me, MBK.
Thank you. See you.
We will indeed be seeing Inferno gracing our screens in this best of 3. And I think that's an interesting point to be picking up on there, Posse. You know, MBK admitted they had some messy rounds against Fnatic last time. It was a very, very close loss, only 16-11. But is there anything that you kind of hope that OG will be bringing? You know, they've literally just faced Fnatic. They did beat them, but that map was a loss. Anything that you can see for them to be wrapping up and cleaning up?
Yeah, it was a loss, and it was such a one-sided affair, right? A 16-5 loss on Inferno. But we have to remember, if we think back on that first map, it was double OT. It was OG swinging neck and neck versus FaZe in the grand finals. And as we mentioned, it was the first time that this squad made it to the grand finals. Now, look, I know if you look at the roster, you look at these players, you see all the in-game leaders, all the experience on this squad, you think, how could nerves be affecting this squad? But I view nerves as a good thing, a great thing. In fact, I think it's a nice reminder to these players of exactly what they're fighting for, what matters most. So it's a nice wake-up call for this squad to be able to make it to the grand finals, have a sort of boost of confidence, and be able to ride that sort of momentum into this next event. Because for a squad like OG with the pedigree on this roster, they're absolutely going to be able to decipher exactly what went wrong and make those quick adjustments. Because that 16-5 loss in Inferno, sure, it was very one-sided scoreline wise, but you could see that there were small minor adjustments that OG could have made along the way to greatly make the outcome different, right? So those sorts of adjustments, I'm expecting OG to be able to make pretty fast.
Yeah, and it's great that MBK is fully aware of them as well. And I love that you pick up on the fact that, you know, this was the first time they actually managed to make it to a grand final together as a team after over 300 days of being together under the OG banner. Maui, they finally managed to make it to a grand final. Admittedly, they don't win it. FaZe looked super strong on that matchup, but that must be a nice confidence boost to the squad.
Yeah, absolutely. To actually see your hard work pay off, to finally feel like this international roster is finally pulling it together, they're moving as a unit. And that's something I note about their playstyle too. The fact that they're usually in positions to trade off of one another. There's rarely an instance where an OG player dies and there's not someone right there beside him in order to just, you know, find that trade frag, to actually get into that bomb site or to actually just secure a position out. And that's something that I think OG in the beginning maybe had a little bit of a difficulty with at times, that people didn't really understand the B style of calling, how he kind of moves. He wants to move his unit as a pack. He wants to actually work with his number advantage in a lot of different situations. And I don't know if Issa was maybe as used to that. Maybe Montu likes to play a little bit more of the solo op kind of role. But now it feels like this team is coming together in a way that makes them really exciting. But at the other end of the server, it's Fnatic, and Fnatic, they love to pick those kinds of things apart. When they know that you're moving in a pack like that, they're going to always be on the flank. You know, Crims is just going to be pushing up into every single position. You know, Flusha is just going to be chunking a nade at them, and it's going to land on all three of them. The thing with OG style of play is that once you really get used to playing against it, I think people have learned how to kind of beat it too, because when FaZe eviscerated them in those grand finals, Cold was just going for dry peaks with the M4 after a while. He knew how they were going to be moving around the map.
Yeah, it was a rough one to watch, especially after, you know, such a close contested semi-final against Fnatic, and OG coming out looking pretty convincing. And I know that we've talked about him, we talked about Mantu a lot, Potter, in previous DreamHack Open tournaments. And at DreamHack Summer, you know, he'd just come off that injury, he's taken some time off, he'd been doing therapy for it. Now he's just tweeted saying, you know, I'm feeling a lot better after my injury. He's recovering from it. And I feel like we've seen flares of maybe the Mantu that was originally going to be on this OG roster.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm going to be honest, if Mantu didn't share that he had that injury and he had to take a step back a little bit, I honestly wouldn't have even noticed, because Mantu, sure, he hasn't been the heaviest hitter for this squad or the biggest superstar, but he is impressive on all fronts, not just the AWP, not just sniping and finding opening kills, but his trading ability, his opening kill percentage with his rifle work, it's fantastic as well. So certainly Mantu, I do think he needs to step up a little bit more, not because it's been lacking, but because it seems like the individuals on OG are a little bit streaky for my liking. To be a consistent top 5 team, I do think they need to be a little more consistent in the frags that they provide for each other. But Mantu, he's been impressive.
Yeah, and another individual that I really want to bring up from the side of OG, I know that Sponge was talking about it during that grand finals matchup. He was saying, you know, he's really looking at Volda to be the star of that OG team. Is that something that you would agree with, the same sentiment, Maui, in terms of, you know, how Volda can be really explosive within the server?
Yeah, Valde was always just a really consistent player, and you now can see him on OG just being unlocked in a way. He actually is able to get a lot of the spots that he wants to play. He's not just playing kind of this filler role or anything like that. He's getting to be that kind of second, third guy in at times, and that's generally the spot you want to put your star riflers. You know, if Issa's running in ahead of you, or Alexi B, who's constantly actually playing aggressively himself, Valde is the guy that's going to be cleaning things up. He's the guy in those late round situations that you just believe a little bit of the time.
Yeah, exactly. And with that, I think we can move on into our predictions for this best of 3 series. I'm wondering where you're going to be heading with this one, Potter. You know, considering we've literally just seen these two teams play, it was incredibly close. Who are you going to be leaning with for taking this one?
You know, I have to go with Fnatic here. I think they won out on this veto for me. Just thinking about on that train, I know that OG beat them last time. It was 16-13. The first half was 11-4 in OG's favor. That was not a good start for Fnatic, but they were still able to claw their way back and make that one competitive. This time around, these guys are on land. They've made the adjustments. They know exactly what went wrong on that first time that they met up. So really, the most important thing for OG for me is going to be this Mirage. It's going to be the big swing match for this series to to be able to start off 1-0 for OG is going to be huge for them. I know that Mirage is a comfort pick for OG. I know Alexi B looks fantastic. He's always throwing lurk smokes out towards A, being so active, looking for those opening kills for his squad. So I have high hopes for OG, but I'm going to go with Fnatic.
And you're going to be echoing that same thought, Maui. I feel like you are, considering you said, you know, Fnatic are going to top this group.
Yeah, I've got to go with Fnatic here. I just feel like they're going to be putting the pieces together in a way that they didn't the last time these two teams faced. Now that they're all together, now that they're all in the same room. If JW last time they played Mirage was -7 in first kill differential just on Mirage, if that happens this time, you know Golden's just going to look over and be like, come on, bro. Again, come on. It's not happening. JW is not going to be feeding the same way this time around. He's going to come out and frag. I have high hopes for Fnatic here. I think they're not only winning this game, but the
Well, we had a general consensus across the desk for our first match of the day. So you know what? I'm going to throw some spice in here. I think OG are going to be doing it again. And I'm interested to see also whether our Twitch chat poll is going to be agreeing with me or whether it's going to be siding with our actual experts on the desk. So yeah, maybe don't follow my advice for this one. But actually,
You're the
they
expert.
are 78% coming over with me. I'll be rooting down there in Twitch chat with you. But of course, we've got our maps and now we have cemented our predictions. I think the only thing left to do is get into this absolute mammoth best of 3. In revenge, or will OG repeat history? We're going to be finding out as we jump into match number 2 after this.
Welcome back, ladies and gents, to our live coverage of the DreamHack Open Fall 2020. Fnatic and OG about to go up against it one more time, less than a week after the last time these two teams faced off against each other. I'm Vince, joined by my bold brother in crime of Tom Biz, and we're going to be guiding you through the action. It's going to be an interesting one, Tom. They painted the picture perfectly on the desk. I know that you have your reservations about which way this is going down, and I'm right alongside with you, man. Like, I think it's a coin flip. I think it's really difficult to tell. What we do know, though, for guaranteed certainty, is you have Mirage coming up first. What thoughts do you have going into Mirage against these two teams?
Well, I think the last time we witnessed them play, like we spoke about in the last matchup, how we were like, oh, Frozen had an incredible performance and how it sort of changed the result a little bit of this match. Well, I want to ask you, Vince, how many times have you seen Flusher get 4 kills in a map? Because for me, I can't think of any others, but that's what happened last time they played Mirage, and it wasn't that far away from them actually being able to take it. The same you could say actually with Train, in fact, where they won 8 rounds in a row on their CT side, and then it kind of slipped away from them towards the end. So I think although the score lines in both maps sort of paint a picture of that this should be a relatively decent chance for OG to take this one, I think Fnatic had some like criminal underperformers that I don't think we'll see again, and also without some great clutches coming out from the likes of Alexi B himself, who had a phenomenal map of Mirage. I don't know if we'll get the same result, and that's why, well, I sort of said to you going into this one, I don't really want you to ask me for predictions because it really could go either way.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think it's one of those situations where I don't even necessarily care about the prediction. I just want to enjoy some great CS, and I think we're going to get it. You know, we were a bit disappointed with the Vitality Mouse Sports game. There were glimpses of what Mouse Sports were capable of delivering, but I still feel like we need to see a close game, and like JW, Gunners on, boot camp enabled. This could be scary. It's a good combination.
Honestly, you're about to peek into an angle, and this man comes around the corner. Like I'm out straight away. I'm out. I'm not facing that. And that's the thing. I think there is always going to be a sort of thing with Fnatic where you go into this tournament, you go, okay, they're not expected to win it. They're not expected to do that well because of recent form. They haven't been great. Like, sure, they managed to do okay going into New York, but prior to that, we haven't seen them really take a big result going back all the way to something like February or March. And And although it's the period, it's the online period, I don't really want to touch on that anymore. It's not Fnatic. Like, we expect to see them have these crazy tournaments every once in a while. Now they're all back together. The lads are all in one place. They're on tour. They're looking to try and get themselves a victory. And this is an RMR event. And if I've learned anything from Fnatic in the past, it's where when it gets tough, when they start looking like they're having some poorer form, they go ahead and win an event. So this is what makes this group so exciting. We've got a Mouse Sports that's an unknown, a question mark, Vitality, who are Mr. Consistent and arguably the best team in Europe at the moment. You've got OG, who are in form and slowly getting better and better, winning or getting to the semifinals of lots of events and finally making a final. And then you have Fnatic, the outlier, the team that we just don't know what we're going to get. And, well, that's why I'm more than happy to sit here and take Group A for the remainder of this tournament, because I think it's going to be a banger.
Oh, it's the group of death. I absolutely believe it is. And obviously, the way that this tournament comes down, one team will be edging away, and it's hard to tell you which one that's going to be. I mean, I think all four teams have a very real right to feel like they are the favorites, or at least in the top two when it comes to where people expect them to come down. You see the Dane on your screen now, Valda, a player that a lot of people are touting as one of the best that Denmark has really brought to the forefront, obviously in a very multinational squad. Seemingly pretty relaxed / knackered. On a bit of a yawn, and just, I was like, he's actually just maybe loosening his mouth just to scream and get hype when they inevitably get some clutches, I guess. But yeah, I mean, you look at the firepower on both teams. Fnatic maybe a little bit more storied. Like, obviously you do have some very experienced players in OG. NBK is certainly one that comes to the forefront. But these guys on Fnatic, like, you got Krim, JW, Flusher. Like, these guys have been around the block so many times, so much history with NBK. And that's something else that I'd like to look out for. I know that you're definitely a proponent of the good old BM. They do like to get on each other's nerves a little bit when they're playing off against one another.
If someone did that to me, I'd be fuming. But if I see them do it to someone else, it's hilarious. I think that's the case with many things in Counter-Strike. Like, for example, earlier, where Chris J gets a no-scope headshot while blind and spinning around. If that happened to me, there'd be a hole in my desk. But thankfully, it happened to somebody else. So I get to sit there and enjoy it. And that's something that these teams try to do. There's a mental game to it. And I think, actually, that played a big part in Mirage last time they played. JW, I think they won the pistol round, and then in the second round, Alexi B ran through a smoke and headshotted him instantly while he was waiting on the other side with an AK, chucks it to NBK, and NBK wins the round. Now, from then onwards, we didn't see the JW that we know and love. Like, he went amiss. And there was a few rounds like that where he sort of slipped out of clutch situations where, in all honesty, I'd expect him to perform. He is one of the most experienced players we have within the scene. He's definitely not one of the oldest either, which just shows how sort of young he came onto the scene. And speaking of young players coming onto the scene, nice transition there. Brolin. There is no one I enjoy watching more in Counter-Strike than Brolin. The man on Inferno, put him in the pit, and I will bet on him every single time, no matter the situation, no matter if it's a 1v3, 1v4. This kid just seems to be able to play angles dirtier than anyone else. And now that we're seeing the AUG come back into fashion a little bit, you got the likes of Kirby picking it up quite a bit. I know he actually tweeted out a thread saying that anybody who uses the AUG is a noob. Well, I don't think he's going to care if he's winning tournaments off the back of it. But yeah, realistically, Brolin's another one who's up there. He's going to take those niche weapons. Obviously, I'm sure when you have JW, the king of niche weapons, on your team, he's going to be happy to almost push that in the right direction. I did see, I think in New York, the sawn-off shotgun was used once. I'll give you one guess as to who used it, Vince.
Craziness, isn't it? Like, absolute madness. I just love that these players on Fnatic have no issue with trying a few different things. Like, they're not necessarily the most orthodox or standard players in how they approach the game, and that's one of the main reasons why for years I've loved watching the likes of JW. And it's really cool to have Brolan that maybe taken under the wing a little bit to learn a few things from JW. One of the most random, and I say it in the best possible way, players at times with the AWP. It sometimes costs him dearly, sometimes gets him into really awkward positions that can be a bit of a detriment to the rest of his team, but every now and again he will just pull off some masterful play that should never ever have been possible. So to have Brolin in the same team as him, I think is a really cool recipe for success. And going through onto Mirage, there's definitely enough space on CT and T sides to go for some of those wacky plays. Like, you can push the smokes, you can get up close and personal and try and wrap around OG and really get into their minds and get them off kill there.
Just to bear in mind, a small note to anybody who is thinking, like, casters, why you start game. There are a few server issues, as you can see on your screen at the moment. So we are just going to be like talking through it a little bit and see if we can, like, just waffle our way through. I know that we have a lot to talk about when it comes to this matchup, so I personally don't particularly mind talking about the rest of the tournament in general. And by the looks of it, we might have done the job fairly well, as it does look like we're going to be getting into Mirage relatively soon. It's a map I thoroughly enjoy. I think it's a map that allows for a lot of aggression, which really stings true to what we expect from this Fnatic roster. But don't expect OG to be shying away from it either. This man, Mantu, he's got the British flag, so we're claiming him. And he is someone who likes to get a little bit aggressive as well. But straight in, B-Rush.
Prim's doing an excellent job of holding down with Flusher, but now Issa standing up with the Glock, and 2 players fall down to his wake. Valda getting the upper hand on JW, who will be a bit disappointed he wasn't able to equalize this at a 2-on-2. The bomb now picked back up again and ripping towards the side. Alexi using the off angle. Still plenty of time left. They do not have to force the issue. Golden, although he does get the first kill in this 1v3, also gets the second. How's Valda not taking him out? Only 8 HP remains for Golden, but this is actually doable. Alexi doesn't want to fully invest in that bomb plant, knowing that he could get snuck up on. So instead, with over a minute to play with, he will be just starting back. Golden takes another bullet, nearly lands it into the head of the Finn, but Alexi B clutches out.
I don't know how Valde doesn't get that kill, but you know what? It's lucky he's got Alexi B behind him. This is something else that we haven't mentioned too much, but I think that there's got to be like the biggest mind games ever played in a matchup. Like OG versus Fnatic, you've got Alexi B versus Golden, 2 players pretty much just renowned for their in-game leading, and in a lot of maps, they even play similar spots. So it makes things very interesting. We've already had our first battle of the IGLs, a little bit of an unfair advantage for Alexi B, but you know what? He comes out with the bigger head after that one. And OG, more importantly, they come out with a pistol. But if the last matchup we watched has shown us anything, winning the pistol does not mean that you get the second round for free.
Definitely not. At one point in CS, certainly the case. No longer does that always come into fruition, and Fnatic will battle as well as possible with their scout and pistols, but JW gets caught in an awkward position. You almost see him flick towards the window, anticipating who's getting peeked from there, but actually it was up in ladder, which was taken early on as a result of these smokes that have been put down in play. Grims has the right idea and actually does connect onto MBK. Smoke tossed in towards B-Apps. Dink and finished off as Brolin goes in for a second. He's down to just a measly 19 HP, but nearly gets another. Issa survives on a scrape of 1 HP to his name. And man, if Brolin had connected that frag, then this round's well and truly up for debate. It still is, in part, because 2 players are low. And that HP has put Alexi down to 9 HP now. This is looking brutal for OG. Like, even if they do manage to win this round, it's going to be at the cost of a couple more lives, you feel. Now, they're all tagged low.
He's got an MP7. He's just managed to retrieve an SMG, Vince. This is more than possible. The only thing really against him, well, personnel and time. He's going to jump around the corner, and Alexi B was just not quite close enough. 10 HP between the 2 of them. OG, they have scraped through that round as close as it could be, but unfortunately for Fnatic now, they don't get to buy into this one. It's not like it's a climax where they now get to purchase right back up and try and break their opponent. They have to sit this one out.
Indeed. Sat on the sidelines, just watching in. As they do start to get pressured, they decide to stack on the B side of the map, with Alexi going in first with his MAC-10, the expendable of the weapons, the only SMG at their disposal. And Golden hopping up has been spotted. Molly tossed in just to afford them the luxury of getting a bit closer. They haven't fully bit down on this though, OG. They are sending the rest of the T's towards middle and just keeping Alexi over here on B side. Now, if he goes down, no big deal. It's only a MAC-10. Does very little against the armor, of course. And OG are finding themselves a little bit more room. Actually, no, Tom. I take that back. I thought they were going to be connected to A. They're actually starting to make a move onto the B site. They will be walking into this stack, but they're doing it from 2 separate angles. So even though they've got the kill on Alexi, this is where the House of Cards should come crumbling down. But Crims and his P250 alongside JW are making a real go of this. And momentarily, Valda's actually alone. But it's okay. MBK saves the day with OG getting a third.
That's still far more damage than you'd normally expect from a round like that, unless, of course, your mouse sport's playing off against Glocks, in which case, oh, who knows? But yeah, 3-0. It's sort of like I guess a shallow 3-0. Like, you're not looking at that one and screaming for joy for OG. They haven't made much money at all in this first buy round. It's going to play a pivotal part of how the start of this match goes. Alexi B is almost dead. Within 10 seconds of the round, he's taken a hell of a lot of damage. Do have the AWP pimp for JW. Now, Maui mentioned it, but the last time they played, he was fairly absent. Brim's also getting caught very low. In fact, the nade's going to catch him and kill off Flusher as well. The entries into this A site have been superb, but JW's at least found one on the cross.
I feel like when Crims is having some of his best performances, Mirage is really where he shines brightest. So the fact that he's been a little bit slow to start may not bode well for Fnatic. OG have ripped into this map exceedingly quickly and already in hot pursuit of a 4th round. It will be difficult to see how Fnatic escape out of this deficit. 2v4, albeit on Alexi B low HP. But plenty of time. OG have been quick. They've been rapid on their endeavors. They're never really pushing to the site with 10-15 seconds where they can slip over to a well-placed spray. Instead, they're keeping the foot to the throat of Fnatic, and Valda puts them one step closer to that 4-0 mark. They will get it. JW trying his best to save, may get caught in the cross, but fortunately for him, Alexi was low, and the USP headshot is more than enough. He may not be able to escape if he decides to re-peek, but the economy of OG is not exactly amazing either, so I think they'll be okay to call this a stalemate and just take the round.
I really like Alexi's luck in this round as well. He actually kills off a B-side player and just means that that plant for Connector is, it's impossible to play against for the remaining 2. So a good round from OG, impressive entries as well. And this is the thing, like we spoke about when this OG roster formed. Like Valde was obviously someone we knew could be a world beater. Issa as well had played in Hellraisers, and obviously in the prior iterations where it had been with Woxic, there was a pretty decent duo there. But we came into this roster with a lot of if, ands, or buts. We didn't know what Mantu was going to offer on the big stage, playing from alternate attacks straight into this roster. So the fact that it all seems to be working fairly well, and now they're just looking for what is a grand final plus a win, that's a pretty big step up and a lot of pressure coming onto their shoulders. We saw it versus FaZe. They didn't really match up too well, and FaZe have not been the pillar of consistency within the community at the moment. They've been very up and down, but it does mean that, again, as many tournaments have been recently, it's completely up in the air. And Fnatic, after a very, very slow start, is a worry. Now, you mentioned Crims. Crims, I think in my eyes, the king of stairs. We've seen him play this position for so many years, and it's not necessarily that it's something stale or something we want to change. Like we talk about with lots of players, there's not really anyone better at playing that role, so why would you change it? The only problem I have is that a lot of the time I feel like Brolin becomes very underutilized on this map.
I think that's a very fair assessment, honestly. You see a lot of players, like Rain, for example, instead of playing stairs, he'll actually play up close on the ramp. It's a difficult position to properly ascertain information and firepower, honestly, but Crims always seems to walk the line. Being said, though, in this round, OG slowing down the pace. As I said before, they've been rapid in their aggression. This time with 25 seconds, they decide to push in. And Fnatic, with a lack of firepower, utility, or kit, now have to figure out if they even want to go for this retake. Saving this AWP would be a nice little addition, but JW holds on to the CT. Alexi forces them away, though, funneling out from Firebox. And Brolan sticks around, maybe to try and put a couple more players down on his way out. See if he can maybe pick up an AK for himself. Be careful what you wish for, though, Broland, because Election's just around the corner. And his AK will not miss. That puts more pressure on JW's. Missed the first shot. They may save nothing out the round. And OG relentless, showing no mercy.
Yeah, that's a nice round from them again. Obviously, this one more of a position where there's only going to be a few sort of pieces in play for Fnatic, but they pretty much negate all of them with just an effective take of the A site, and then more importantly, the cleanup at the end. And this is where their economy will actually start to build. You're seeing the majority of their players with purchases available even going into the next round. And I like the fact that we're seeing Fnatic pause early. Like, a lot of teams will wait for 6, 7, 8-0 before they feel they need a pause. Well, even though it's only really been one significant buy run coming out from Fnatic, they're now coming in with a different setup. They've got the double AWP available. This should free up maybe Broland to maneuver himself a little bit more if Flusher is going to get aggressive in those apartments. And more so for the rest of the team, it's sort of sectioned off a few angles of the map so they can try and basically be maybe a little bit more aggressive and get themselves some opening picks, which hasn't been going fantastically well so far.
An intriguing prospect as to what Fnatic will look to try and change up. They've gone for 2 orbs. That's the first answer to the question of weaponry. And they did go for a bit of aggression as well, Tom. Boosting JW up into the ladder room allowed him that early peek, but a good, well-placed smoke from OG actually messes with his vision, will skew his information gathering attempts. So the intel's not forthcoming, but positionally, Fnatic do look to have a bit more of an aggressive outlook into round 6 after going 5-0 behind.
Interesting, they don't opt to section off the apartments. That's something we see quite regularly. Instead, JW playing, well, the tightest pixel angle of all time. Issa still knows he's there, though. He's going to dig him up twice through the wall, not allowing any shenanigans. Something we can always say about OG is they do their research. Right? They are definitely one of the hungrier teams you can see at the moment in the online sector. They desperately want that victory. And, well, if they do it in an RMR event, that would be another level to it. One of the teams that I don't even think they played the first one, and they're still right near the top of the board because of the success they had in the last. Roland, though, this is cheeky. He's going to get aggressive, but he doesn't quite win the duel. 7 HP for Valde, and that starts the execution on towards this B site. Only 1 defender, and in fact, the rest of the team haven't moved.
They didn't even have a smoke either to put down to extinguish that Molotov, so Golden can rip and tear through 2 oncoming Ts. 8 seconds to go, bomb will get planted down. There's no way Fnatic stopping this and denying the plant. JW tosses in his own smoke, and of course he pushes through there, but his reputation may very well have preceded him. Valda doesn't budge an inch, puts him out of his misery, flushes next to push through the smoke, and maybe a bit too much aggression. Maybe need to temper this and control it a little bit more. Crims, who's had a slow start to the map, spraying up and down. MBK goes down to his hands. Not entirely sure what happened there. Maybe ran out of ammunition. But the bomb's not planted for Mantu. But there's no kit for Crims. That's so brutal. And a Molotov finds its way. That's why he re-peeks. If he has the kit, I'm sure he sticks it.
I like how calm that was for Mantu as well. It's very easy in those moments to panic, run towards the bomb, sprint in, and I'm definitely not speaking from experience, and probably get killed off by Crims, but he just Molotovs out. Unfortunately, Crims doesn't have a kit, as you said. You witness, of course, G2 winning versus Endpoint. I'm not going to say that that's not very surprising, but it has only been 3 rounds. I have faith. I'm looking forward to seeing what the UK boys have to offer, although I might have a little bit more faith in the current UK player we currently have in the server.
Oh, certainly. And that current player by the name of Mantu does have an AWP. OG off to a beautiful start, honestly. Mirage T side can be a side of the map that can post up a whole bunch of rounds. So Fnatic won't be pushing the panic button just yet, but their fingers getting closer and closer. And OG, I love that they've been mixing up the pace here, Tom. Like, we've had the aggressive rounds up in the face of Fnatic, and then we've had the slow, steady approaches as well. And this is a lot of middle control, but with the bomb drop back towards T spawn, They won't be fully pushing out just yet. Maybe waiting for Issa to join the rest of the troops. Or perhaps not if MBK can get a pick. But the only pick that's forthcoming is the head of Valda, knocked off by Flusher's Deagle. And now the aggression we were talking about coming in from JW. He misses his opportunity. Will get Molotov'd out. MBK taking damage from Flusher. May get double peaked now. MBK's aim is off, and those wooden panels saving Flusher's life time after time. That shield proving to be a little bit more powerful than you're anticipating. Scout shot rings out. Couple OG players are low. MBK and Alexi feeling worse for wear. But still OG have forced their way onto the site. And the CTs need to come out. Oh my god, do they? Brolan with a double on the CZ. And then one of the worst buys, as is so often the case, Fnatic somehow make it work and get themselves around.
I have no idea how Flusher survives as long as he did, but this man will always do things that will have me with my jaw dropped. He takes a fight for ages on the player in Palace and then just turns around and 1-deek someone running out connector instead. Just gave up on that battle. And while in classic Fnatic style, they're going to win a round that they never deserved to win, because of that, OG's money, well, considering they're 6-0 up, it's not that impressive. They've got maximum $1,600. Obviously, this round they're fine. But if they lose this one, Fnatic, well, they're right back in. Like nothing ever happened.
Absolutely, can just slip through that door. Back into the party one more time. But if they do run into the bouncer of OG, get thrown back out in the street, could get a little bit awkward. Flusher, nice try. Alexi B up to the task, but does lose a bunch of damage in the process. So Flusher nearly single-handedly holds the line. But with his death, the site are open for business. Now Fnatic, still in this round, could go for a fast flank in the hands of Golden, who is starting to make a move round, but actually decides better of that. And probably for the best, because Valda was up to that. He sniffed that possibility out. Does, with his loss, though, put a bit more pressure and a bit more strain on his teammates. But Alexi B doesn't seem to have any issues with that. Ice running through his veins alongside the rest of his teammates, and now it falls upon JW's AWP and Golden's AK. And Valda will not allow Golden to survive. JW goes back in, that catches Alexi off guard. He has no possibility of clutching this round. The bomb timer is simply too low. And Fnatic, we talked about if they can get 2 in a row, they get a way back in. They can walk through the door again. Well, it turns out the door was locked.
I don't even think it was that. I think Alexi B is just the bouncer standing in front of it. And he's like, no. I've seen you in there already. Gonna have to pay the toll. This is a map that just seems to really sing true for him as an individual. Like, bear in mind, when we saw them play a few days ago, he started off this match 15-4. Like, he was absolutely killing it in the first half, and it looks like he's looking for more of the same. He's going to run straight into Flusher on short, though. I might have been singing his praises, but he's been caught with his pants down here. Now, the remainder of the team may be reliant on the distraction of the in-game leader with the MAC-10, and now going to be trying to make their way through the apartments. Now, Brolan, his little jump spot there, gives him quite a bit of information. The smoke going to fall down, and he's trying to spray back through it with the AUG. Risky for sure, and the T's have now decided that this is a battle they don't fancy taking.
At the cost of a lot of map control, though. Already Fnatic making the most of that, not just with the player advantage, but pushing through middle. That flick not far off. Man2 getting punished. Takes a dink. And this is really where the lack of unity and explosiveness that OG suffered as a result of not getting through onto B will potentially catch up with them. MBK, though, at least will alleviate some of that with a big entry onto Alexi. Man2 had to fall back alongside Brolan's Org, who is spraying into position, still alive just about by the skin of his teeth, but that Molotov forces him back out again. Gets the second, which is huge from Brolan, the youngster, stepping up when it's needed, but still needs 25 seconds to see if the rest of his teammates can dig themselves out of this ditch. This 1-7 scoreline. Flusher, easiest kill of his life onto Valda, who is looking towards the Palace side, and there's Flusher again with the USP. Now, you said last time they met, he had a bit of a stinker. Seems like he's waking up now.
Yeah, I want to check if I'm correct, because it seems like such a ludicrous stat line to even bring up, his kills on Mirage. But no, he went 4 and 19 in that map. He's done better than that already, which is definitely a good sign if you're a Fnatic fan. And well, if you're not a Fnatic fan, that probably means that some of the things that they've done to be the villain have got to you, which that just means you're playing into their hands.
Ooh, through the smoke. He's actually, yeah, he's doing double his last kill tally already in just round 10. They're really stepping up. And as you highlighted, I cannot remember a single time that Flush has had that kind of a score in a game. Even if he has an off game, he's normally still posting up respectable kills and ADR. Second kill also the way of Crims. He said he was the king of Stairway, and he's proving that he reigns with an iron fist. And his subjects of OG are being put in the dirt. MVK just with a deagle. Plenty of damage to Mantu and Valda. They do get one in return, but it's unlikely that really will mean a great deal. MVK keeping the economy of Fnatic somewhat honest, but the Swedes get a third round.
Yeah, and more importantly, they got that reset. It took a little bit longer than maybe we would have expected for Fnatic to get there, obviously with a round break in between, but just looking better. OG have won 4 of their last 9 on Mirage, but 2 of those wins were versus Swedish teams. Okay. Go. I do think that this is a map that OG can definitely play very, very well. The thing is, like, at least historically, like from my memory, it might not be completely accurate all of the time, Fnatic normally put up huge numbers on the CT side. I still remember that there were like battles where like Cloud9 had an incredible run, and they would still struggle when they played the T side versus someone like Fnatic because their CT side was always so strong. So to get 7 rounds already for OG, they are in a pretty good position. And you have to bear in mind that most of the time, like, you're going to see the likes of Mantu or someone like that really perform on the CT side with his AWP. Hasn't had the best start to this game, but that's really forgivable. So I would say OG, although if they lose 8-7 now, it's not great. But with 7 rounds already on the board, they have to be fairly happy.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this really is a great sort of building block to something special on the first half, and it's pressured now on Fnatic. I mean, obviously OG don't want to take their eyes off the ball. As you said, one of the hardest working teams out there in Counter-Strike right now have really taken this online period seriously and propelled themselves up the chain. So they want as many as possible, but it does give you that little extra buffer of confidence. Golden, speaking of confidence, will be building his with that 3K spray down alongside Crims, who gets the actual third. And that is a quickfire 7-4. Not that we were expecting anything other, I would imagine, Tom, but the way in which they did it...
You've been casting a lot of liquid.
Yeah, I keep saying Grims, don't I? It's really weird. I don't know what's wrong with me.
You've got the youngster on the mind, I guess. And that's funny how it would make more sense if it was the other way around, with like the sort of legendary Fnatic player. But no, you've got it the sort of new boy on the block. But, you know, I'm sure he's happy for the free shout out.
I'll get there eventually, Tom. Get that old mind working again. Maybe it's a Freudian slip at just how poor Fnatic have started this, but then again, they are starting to get the cogs in place, all moving in the same direction. Not too much utility really here though, Tom. Only 2 smokes remaining with over a minute left, but they have got middle control, which is important.
I am liking this a lot more, though. Now that Brolin's started to play the more rotational role, JW's been caught out, but he gets away with it, and Golden has almost played a distraction, but he will fall. Flusher the same on B. Oh, 1 by 1, it's just all falling apart. Brolin doing his best job being the hero. Fortunately, the bomb will go down. There's nothing he can do to deny that, and look at Crims. Oh, the timing! Alexi B! Got eyes in the back of his head. He's managed to catch Crims looking the wrong way, and now it's all onto Brolin. You can't expect him to do much in this situation, but that is unlucky for Crims. I don't know, maybe we've seen all those sort of Marvel superhero crossovers. Maybe Alexi B was the Spider-Man they were looking for.
Yeah, the Spidey sense tingling, yeah. It would make a lot of sense with some of the calls that he's made as well. This guy just seems to know it all. But yeah, very unfortunate for Crims. And you felt like that was the moment. If they were going to clutch, it had to be Crims getting at least 1 and then posting up a little bit more pressure so they could divide and conquer. But instead, 8-4. OG, their economy, not in fantastic shape, but neither is Fnatic's. This really does feel like it's a fulcrum point of the half. It could either be a bloodbath half for OG, or maybe Fnatic can bring us back to 8-7. It's not looking good in Connector, at least as MBK goes in with that kill, and so does Alexi B's AK. OG off to a cracking start again, and JW round the back can get one. That's not a position that he can repeat. So he falls back. The good news on Fnatic, both their AWPers still remain intact. One of which is Flusher on CT, but you never really want to have both your AWPs clumped up together in one angle because it's very susceptible to being mollied or smoked off. Good news though, Fnatic have struck gold one more time. Flusher's AWP, a pickaxe through the head of OG. Mantu and Issa, both low, but both still standing. Slight gap in the smoke. JW will not be able to exploit that. And another post plant falls upon us.
Haven't been going amazingly well so far. Maybe that's down to the double AWP setup that's currently in play. That flashbang from Mantu is spot on. JW, there's nothing he can do about that. And now the remaining two players trying to pincer in, but the afterplants from OG are solid. They're going to need to do something impressive. And while Brolin's got off to a good start, but with both players holding from a strong position, it's going to be difficult to defuse this. Flusher, he's managed to pick off one more, and actually Brolin gets the last man. Have they got time to defuse this bomb? I think they have. And Fnatic, that's very impressive, right? They were, what, a 2v3 after plant sitting from Palace, what, jungle and connector, and they managed to kill off all three players with time to spare.
That was such a sick passage of play, man. Like smoking the bomb, forcing out the spray, knowing that OG would assume that they were going for a defusal right in amongst it, then jumping up on the boxes to overlook the smoke and wreck OG, who ran out of ammunition. They also threw a Molotov in connector, so it forced them out into this really awkward confrontation. Great retake from Fnatic. As I highlighted before, with the economy on both teams low, the fact that Fnatic get it done puts OG back into Tech9 and Deagles. And a straight up rush. Crims gets flashed, but still holds down left click and gets rewarded with a kill onto Valda. But it's another post plant on A. We've been here so many times before. That being said, though, this time OG don't have a great deal to play with, and still plenty of utility as Issa splatters JW across the stairway. He falls and breaks his neck on the way down, and they still have enough health to make a real go of this OG. More than half of the timer on the fuse of the bomb is now ticked away. And the CTs need to get up close. They need to make this personal. They need to get kills right now, otherwise it won't be enough time left on the clock. Alexi rushes into position. The upshot has been missed, and Flusher gets punished with a double Tech9 spray. OG take a ninth.
Everybody ends up dead. What a round from OG. And this has been some of the problems. Like, even the rounds Fnatic have been winning, when it's been them with the rifles or them in the retake or disadvantage or advantageous, it's always been very, very close, no matter the case. And in this situation, it's the same execute. Now, how many times have we even seen OG bother to go towards the B side? They haven't needed to. If anything, it was something I mentioned at the beginning, that sometimes I feel like Brolin is underutilized, but that's because they're just not going B. Like, if you don't want to face off against this guy, just keep going into the A site. And well, if you have an afterplant every time, you're bound to win a few of them. This time, though, one of them tries to face into Brolin and, well, loses his life for it.
The ultimate punishment. It seems like OG, although they do go behind by a player, Mantu pushes them in the right direction and spirals another player out of position. Crims, often on stairway, even though he's not in that very angle, is close enough to make this sting, especially if they don't fully respect his prowess through the smoke. He won't be pushing. He's waiting for his teammates to get into position, and Flusher, who was in middle, needs to wait for that smoke to burst into action. Brolan keeping the Thieves busy from CT boxes, spraying down partially through the smoke, decapitating Issa on the way back in. Mantu holding the line with his AK, and the Finn of Alexi, eagle-eyed, trained over on the jungle area. Now the smoke's beginning to clear, as will the CTs. Big one dig from Crims, but has no kit, has to make a move, has to take the initiative into Alexi B, and OG indeed will have a 10-5 lead going through into the second half. we return into the action with a fairly lopsided affair. It could have been much worse, but Fnatic did start to post up a bit of a mini comeback. 10-5 the score, and now the Swedes on the T side. I think we were both a little bit surprised at how slowly Fnatic started here, though, Tom.
It's a weird one. You've got Brolin, Crims, and Flusher all playing decently, and they're losing 10-5. It is a bit of a peculiar scoreline. We got everybody necessarily that we need for them to win, but a lot of close rounds, a few silly mistakes, and that's all it really takes. And their A site was pretty weak. Now we're into the pistol. We got a wraparound coming in. JW. Oh no. Oh, okay. That was the last shot I expected him to hit, but he hits those. Can't take the easy ones, it seems. But they've got them. Wait. Flusher has a deagle and nades.
Just Flusher things, I guess.
I guess Golden had the nades and he just bought a deagle. Like, that's bold. I like it if he gets wrecked here, which he does. Oh no. Nathan punishes him for what is an interesting choice of gun.
That is such a massive 2K. And you mentioned the word bold, courageous. MBK pushing there for intel was so vital for his teammates, and he may get another one. JW's getting chipped away to 61. MBK drops to 4. As he starts to dissolve away, needs his teammates to step up, and that flashbang could not have been better, or perhaps maybe the double kill will just about edge it out. OG take the second pistol.
I can't believe Flusher bought a Deeg in the pistol round. Like that's normally the angry matchmaking teammate play, not the long-standing professional Counter-Strike player play. Like it's just unusual, I guess. It does definitely give him an opportunity to potentially get an opener into the window or something like that, but it's just not something you see very often. Like you normally get maybe a P250 dropped over with some Kevlar, but he ended up holding like over 1,000 worth of stuff just going into the round. So not ideal. And considering Fnatic started that off with, what was that, a 2-man opener, I think? Like you had JW managing to find a couple of kills. That's a big problem. And now they come in, they haven't forced into this one. They're going to get the buy in the next round. So this is all about damage. Reduce the amount of money that OG are able to make and drop a couple of guns.
Like it's such an odd decision that I wonder if, because obviously like if you use the keyboard to buy, B15 is Deagle, B51 is Kevlar. So I wonder if he's just accidentally done it the wrong way around to get a Deagle. I've done that many a time. Many a time. But
don't lie, you're just a very cocky Counter-Strike player. Lads, I'm going to go 1D in the pistol round.
Mate,
Follow
I'm
me.
the worst Eagle player on the planet. 100% worst.
I'll use the revolver then. JW would tell you.
Yeah, I probably should, to be fair. Probably get more kills with it. Flusher, well, there's the Deeg. Maybe it was by intent. Maybe he did just want to go with the Deagle and see what worked. And it's his head now been caved in and 40 seconds to go. The bomb not under control. This is a bit of an issue. When you don't have much time, one of these players has to go back and retrieve that. Even if they were to kill Valda, they can't fully press behind this and get a bomb plant down. Now sub 30 seconds. They're already down by a player, so one of these three has to go back and get the bomb. Mantu doesn't pull the trigger because his teammate runs ahead of him, but then he does twice in quick succession. And with him, 2 bodies will fall. Fnatic do retrieve the bomb, but it feels pretty much like too little, too late to me, Tom. And Golden, best of luck to you, sir. Gets the M4, probably wants to save it, actually. And that's not too bad.
Yeah, a little bit lucky, really. Like the placing of that M4, I don't know if that was never part of the plan, let's be honest. It wasn't like, okay, we drop a player, we completely forget the bomb, but hope he has an M4 and then we get to keep it. Like, not part of the plan, but it's ended up working out okay for Fnatic, considering what was invested into that round. But yeah, I guess that either that or they just didn't expect to live as long as they did. So I guess that's something, at least doing a little bit of damage, forcing a rebuy of a rifle. And wow, that rifle that they managed to retrieve has already killed off Mantu. Valde is going to go back in for more. A very aggressive start to this CT half for OG. I guess they're feeling confident. Well, look at the scoreline. You can kind of see why.
I do love it. It's great from a neutral's perspective. Maybe not so much if you're a fan of OG, though, because they've put themselves into a bit of an awkward position. As you say, though, confidence probably coursing through their veins. They're probably feeling like they're unbeatable right now. Immortal. It could be brought back down to earth and have their hubris tempered somewhat. They do go aggressively again. This makes a little bit more sense when you're very low in terms of manpower. May even have half a mind to stack over on the B side of the map and then save if it ends up being A. And they're about to find out that will be the case. Brolan full plant down. Alexi making up a lot of ground over into Palace. And maybe a case of just dipping their toe in the water and see what happens. They have kits on all 3 players, but it's the lack of nades that's causing me a little bit more of a concern. And Crims, by the way, is miles off. This is effectively a 3-on-3 right now. It's going to take Crims a long time to get even close. He assumes this is a save. He assumes the same as I did. They just be going in for the save here. And now Golden's had his head removed, and Brolan's gone down too. And it's all down to Flusher. Crims is a million miles away, and they can go for a full defusal right now, and Crims can do nothing about it. This is so brutal for the Swedes. Oh my God, that has to be such a gut punch.
That's a big mistake. That's a big mistake, especially in a round that they couldn't afford to lose. I'm all for the hunt, but at the same time, when you're 12-5 down, you need to make sure you're winning these rounds, and that's a slip up that Fnatic, they really couldn't afford to have. It's now or never, really, Vince. They've got to break back here and now to even garner a chance, a hope in hell of bringing back this map. If they lose it, well, yeah, a bomb plant would get them another purchase, but the scoreline is just getting too far gone.
It's slipping away, isn't it? Fouled up on the cross. The Dane holds his ground. 2 kills before he is suppressed. Issa and Mantu picking up the slack, putting down the adversaries, and it's Issa's M4. And it speaks for OG alongside Mantu. This is looking pretty dire, Tom.
Yeah, no, 14-5. Again, like we look at the Death prediction, we look at even our own, like talking about how this is going to be a close game. Even look at the other matches that are currently going on. I've just seen DreamHack tweet that G2 endpoint 7-7, Big Clan, FaZe Clan 11-11, OG Fnatic 14-5. It doesn't really fit the trend. Like, we're the outlier at the moment, and I'd love to sit here and say that I believe in the Fnatic comeback. I know they've done it before. Unfortunately, they didn't take a pause. We all know about the Fnatic pauses. But over the last few rounds, it's not even looked like it's been close. Like, this is just simplistic stuff. Sure, the 3-on-4 they never should have won, but realistically now, I think it's just a boost to the finish. They've been picked up in someone's car, and they're going to cross the finish line there.
I think is the key distinction to make is sometimes in like a 14-5, you've had a ton of really close rounds. The CT economy is hanging by a thread, bunch of clutches. They've just been unlucky. No, Fnatic have been pretty comprehensively outplayed. I mean, you could make the case that that Crims round where he's off to try and deal with the saved weapons was a round that they really should have won, but that was the outlier in an otherwise pretty much a flawless, clean sweep OG performance here. Now, Golden, even if he gets the kill onto Valde, he was a dead man from Alexi, and that is the bomb, as you highlight correctly. 40 seconds left. They have enough time, Tom, to go and retrieve it, but it's more the positioning, and it's more the fact they're a 2v4 that's giving me cause for concern.
Well, also, just like, even if he gets 1 kill, like, why would you jump into the window with the bomb? That's mad. I imagine the remaining Fnatic players are like, dude, come on. Like, how am I going to get this back? Well, Alexi B's just guarding it. He sat on it. And while, sure, Crims will kill him off, but he's just wasted another 3 seconds having to try and get back into the window. He doesn't even have time. Like, getting onto this plant is not impossible. Man 2 is going to rip his head off with an AWP. There are, I almost want to say, silly mistakes now being made by Fnatic. After what was a decent back and forth, some rounds that were looking close at the beginning of the map, now they're just almost handing OG the win on a plate.
Yeah, there's certainly elements that you would go back to the drawing board on a Fnatic and watch this demo and kind of scratch your head if you them and wonder what the hell went wrong. That Crims play certainly was one of them. Golden jumping into the window with the bomb definitely didn't help matters. Maybe mentally checking out a little bit on our first map and eyes towards the second. But whichever way you spin it, OG have been almost impenetrable on both sides. Brolan through the smoke, though, anticipating that boost, does get the upper hand onto Alexi. They'll need much more of that if they're going to even get close into this half. But surely they need to start converting some rounds. If nothing else, just for a bit of self-respect, just for like a little bit of a boost to the confidence.
Yeah, for sure. Especially as the next two maps are ones that I definitely believe they can win. Brims, though, yeah, those are his stairs. With them, they may have not held on to a lot of positions, but the stairs have always been his. 3 kills have just come back. 4 kills have come back. This was a 2-man opener for Fnatic. They've just lost almost every single man running into the connector. That A site has fallen. JW. Oh, he spots MBK. MBK will have heard the scope, so he should know he's being watched, even has the confidence to try and wide peek out. And it comes down to a 1v1, and Issa couldn't be further away.
It's very true. Issa now bridging the gap, but in doing so, running straight in. Now needs to walk. Don't give away your position. Mask your sound cues. 20 kills with 85 ADR. That's Issa. Step by step closer through on the B apps. Timing could be of the essence. JW, it's so unfortunate. He had the right idea, just the wrong timing. And OG will put an end to the slaughter. They administer the mercy kill, 16-5. They take first blood, and it was just never close to them.
No, a comprehensive victory for them. They got off to a flying start, and sure, there was a little bit of a fight back in the first half at least, but realistically, they look like the dominant force into this one. And now we're looking at them going into a train map where they managed to win it last time. So this has got to be a really big turnaround from Fnatic. Luckily, of course, Vince, it's not us who has to break that one down. I feel like there might be a few unhappy Fnatic fans waiting on the desk. And of course, after what would be a short break, they'll be the ones joining.